Hello and welcome. You're listening to the Evolvepreneur Secrets Show for entrepreneurs, and I'm your host, Brian Silverthorne. And it's my mission to help entrepreneurs make a difference and to navigate the often challenging worlds of startup and growth or relaunch. And today we're going to dig deep with our special guest and get you some great concepts and strategies to help fast track your business. And today our guest is Lara Days, and Lara is a certified nutrition coach, a personal trainer, a yoga instructor, and sports nutritionist. So welcome to the show, Lara.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm anxious to learn about all this good, healthy stuff. So why don't we start off by you letting the folks know where you're hanging out?
Yeah, so I hang out on the internet. I'm located in Dallas, Texas, but I spend a lot of time online because I actually started my business online back in 2019, which was really convenient come March of 2020 that I had an online business until everyone else decided that they were also going to have an online business. But I yeah, I do work in groups and one-on-one with my clients, almost all virtually. Every now and then I'll do some in-person workshops that are really fun. I've gotten really into retreats as an attendee, and maybe one day we'll host a retreat. But yeah, mostly on the online space.
Good. So how do you do yoga online? Can you do that?
You can do that. I was teaching some really high quality Instagram yoga classes when the pandemic first hit. But I mostly am doing in person. So when it comes to the training, I coach F45, which maybe some of the listeners are familiar with. I explain it as if Orange Theory and CrossFit had a baby, it would be F45. So functional fitness, 45-minute classes. I'm not currently at a yoga studio. I have had a very hard time finding a studio here to teach at. I practice at a studio here in Dallas that I love, but I'm going to an open house actually this coming weekend and hoping to get on the roster at a yoga studio here. But I'm trying to think if I might have some recordings now that you say, can you teach yoga online? I might have some recordings, and I do for people who want to try online yoga before going to a class. Yoga with Adriene has free YouTube yoga, and it's great.
Good, good. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Uh, so what inspired you to get involved in this particular business?
So I actually found myself here in quite a roundabout way. I say that I grew up as a weird kid that did both music and sports. And so I grew up in choir, orchestra, taking piano lessons, playing softball, playing volleyball, doing taekwondo. And I actually went to school for music. So my undergraduate degree is instrumental, choral, and general music education and voice performance. And my master's degree is in voice performance with an emphasis in conducting, none of which has much to do with coaching health and wellness. However, our body is our instrument, especially for those of us who are singers. And so I've always really paid attention to how to best take care of my instrument. Another unique thing about being a singer is that when we get sick, we cannot sing. We cannot use our instrument in the same way that if I have a stuffy nose or a scratchy throat, I can still play piano or violin. So it was really important to stay healthy so that I could perform. It was really important to have enough stamina to do staging rehearsals and things like that. And so once I finished school and I was no longer in organized sports, that's kind of when I started my own journey in health and wellness and trying to figure out what felt good for my body, what helped me, stay in shape well enough that I was not getting sick, I was sleeping well, that kind of thing. And so my own curiosity led to my first nutrition certification. And a few years later, I am a full-time holistic health coach and never would have seen that coming.
Well, it's amazing how we get nudged in certain directions
It
sometimes.
is.
So you just got kind of have to pay attention, I guess, while you're getting
Uh-huh.
there.
Yep.
So what was your biggest challenge when you got started this way?
I think a lot of people probably say imposter syndrome, but I will share that I think I experienced that and do sometimes still experience that on a very different level due to being so new in the industry. I studied music really for 23 years formally, from my first piano lesson at age 4 until I finished my master's degree at age 27. And so doing an online certification course, and I have since done much more continuing education and certifications and things like that. But there's still something about doing online programs and these certifications that feel like, who am I to call myself a professional coach when I've, studied this other thing for 23 years and I've been doing this for 4? So that is a huge mental barrier. And I think for anyone who has made industry changes, they probably resonate with that. And really, it's just about learning to trust yourself in the space and learning from experience and trial and error. And really, the experience, I think, is the best teacher.
Yeah, absolutely. If you pay attention,
Yes.
so
Yes.
so it's okay to make mistakes as long as you're aware of them, correct them, and don't make them again, or try not to anyway.
Yeah. That's how we learn for sure.
Absolutely. So, what's your current focus right now, and then what are your plans, say, in the next 3 years?
Yeah. So right now, I think I'm still in sort of an acquisition phase. As I started, as we were just talking about experience, when I started my coaching practice, I was coaching in a very different way than I am now. I've learned a lot about people. I've learned a lot about coaching. I've learned a lot about things that I was doing that I really don't like. And so it took me, I will say, probably a year to a year and a half to really feel like I came into my own as a coach and really figured out my coaching style, the people I really like to help, the people who I can best serve. And so I've been there for about a year, year and a half. And now it's really going into that client acquisition and building stage where I'm getting people in my coaching programs, but I'm not filling them. And so the goal from here on out is, how can I, instead of just getting people into these programs, really show up in a way that makes people say, "Oh my gosh, I have to work with her," so that I have a wait list and I'm not having to constantly feel like I need to market. And really cultivating a community. The work that I do with my clients is a lot deeper than most of the health and fitness professionals that I know, because issues with food and with our body stem from something that's much more deep seated than that. It's never an external problem, it's always an internal problem. And so, in order to dive deep with my clients, we have to cultivate trust. And that's a longer process than it is for, let's say, someone who sells clothing. It's like, oh, I like the clothes, I buy the clothes. It's a little bit different when someone is sharing their whole life story with you and you're digging deep into their past conditioning and beliefs about themselves and their bodies. And so creating that community over the next couple of years and really, I think, setting myself apart in the industry so that people know when they come to me, like, they're not getting a meal plan, they're not getting workouts, like, they're really getting true coaching and they're going to change as a person.
Well, that sounds like a ambitious endeavor, but I understand exactly what you're saying. You got to
Mhm.
kind of fix some things. Rather than dealing with symptoms, you got to get to causes, I would guess.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. So, do you anticipate any obstacles in getting from here to there? And if so, do you have a plan to avoid those obstacles or run through them?
Yeah, I think really just being curious and flexible, because as entrepreneurs, we know that there are a lot of things that happen that are out of our control, and we can only control ourselves and how we show up and how we prepare. So I think really just having the ability to, as you mentioned earlier, learn from mistakes, analyze data objectively rather than emotionally, and just be willing to shift gears and act on new ideas. I think that's been something that has shifted for me a lot. Is I never really thought of myself as a creative person, and when my coach reflected to me that every program I've ever run is something that I've created, that really changed my perspective. And I was like, oh, we can create things out of thin air whenever we need to. Which is one of the greatest gifts, I think, of being an entrepreneur is like, we can do whatever we want. And so just having that mindset of flexibility and curiosity, um, I believe gets us through most obstacles that will come our way.
Yeah, no, that's good advice. So we're getting toward the end here. Very quickly, who's your ideal client and how do they find you?
Yeah. So my ideal client is a woman who has really gotten tired of yo-yo dieting. They've probably tried all sorts of fad diets to change the way that their body looks, and they're over it. And they're ready to step into their power. They're ready to start believing new things about their bodies, new things about food, and they really want to embrace the fact that they are a whole human. They are more than just a body. They can find me on Instagram. It's just at Lara.days, first name dot last name. I hang out there quite a bit, as I mentioned, as an online business owner. But yeah, that's kind of, I work with most people, but that tends to be the person who comes to me most frequently.
Okay, great. Well, I'm going to use that as a wrap for another great guest episode of the Evolvepreneur Secrets Show for entrepreneurs. And just before you leave, if you enjoyed it, please give us a 5-star review and share it with a couple of friends. And if you want to make sure you can catch up on some past episodes and not miss any of the ones that are coming down the road, go to evolvepreneursecrets.show. And if you're an entrepreneur and you got a great idea, let's get it out in the world today. Thanks for listening.